Against the Ropes podcast.
Against the Ropes, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. AtR podcast. Gio Garcia here alongside Christian Mosqueda. Back again, back in the building. Mexican Independence Day weekend. We got some action this weekend. And of course, we conclude the month with the Face of Boxing, Chris. So we have to be back. We'll be previewing that a little bit today. But of course, like I said, some action this weekend as well.
Yeah, you said it, Gio. It's our boy Lopez. He's fighting Joet Gonzalez, and normally this is the weekend that Canelo fights. He's like you mentioned, he's gonna fight a little bit later on. He's getting some of the smaller guys a little attention come Mexican Independence weekend. But I just want to introduce you to some guys that are gonna join us on the podcast, Gio. And these are you see these.
Oh,
we'll talk about who this is, but yeah, just wanted to say we taken a week off, take a little break from boxing, but it's starting up again. Like you said, a big fight this weekend. Give me your thoughts, Gio. What do you think is gonna happen? Come September 15th.
Well, look, shout out to our boy, friend of the show, Luis Alberto Lopez, El Venado. He said he wanted to challenge himself. He wanted to stop Joet Gonzalez. Chris, I'm sure you have the names in front of you, all the guys that Joet has fought. He's fought some of the top guys, man, and he hasn't been stopped. So I know Venado said he's taking upon that challenge. He wants to stop Joet Gonzalez. Obviously very durable, Joet, but I think Venado can get it done. I think it's going to be very, very, very tough. I don't think it's likely, but Venado has been showing very good power coming off that Mickey Conlan dramatic stoppage right over there overseas. So, I think Venado's going to go for it. And I think if he gets it, it might be late in the fight. I think the difference is, like I said, Venado's been showing very good power. Joet, of course, fought guys like Shakur Stevenson. Shakur, not the most powerful puncher. That fight wasn't very entertaining against Joet. Pretty much won every single round, right? There was a beef going on there with Shakur. He was with Joet Gonzalez's sister, and that caused a rift in the family. And there was a nice build-up to that fight. Ended up being pretty boring, in my opinion. Like I said, Shakur basically winning every single round, but Venado's not Shakur, and Shakur's not Venado. Obviously, different styles. I think Venado's going to go for it. I think he can get a stoppage against Joet Gonzalez, Chris.
Yeah, the thing about Luis Alberto Venado is he kind of makes us nervous sometimes. We know that he's got the power, like you mentioned. We know that he ends fights with knockouts, especially the last couple of fights. He's just been feeling himself. But he does lose, a lot of those early rounds until he catches a rhythm, starts to break down opponents, knocks them down. Then you start, evening out the cards. But I expect a very, durable, like you said, Joet Lopez. He's been there, but nothing but named fighters. He has come up short against those named fighters, but the fact that he, just number one gets the fights, but those guys second doesn't get knocked out. He goes a distance. That's a lot of experience that he's coming up on. I believe this is maybe his third or fourth chance at that full title. Maybe one of his last. He is 29, but out of his 30. So he knows that he's going to be exiting his time. So this is probably one of the best times for him to try to snag, a title. But again, he's got a very tough fight in front of him. Somebody like Venado with power that's just has that awkward style. It's tough. It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, and of course, we're going to go ahead and read how these two men got here, right? I think Joet, not sure he deserves this title shot. But look, it's to me, is a stay busy fight for Venado. We talked about it a lot, in the lead up to, after those tough fights, the Conlon, the Warrington fight, we were saying he deserves, a fight like this. He's been fighting champions over in their hometown. Now he brings it back, over here to the U.S. a little closer to home. But, Luis Alberto Lopez, El Venado, 28-2, Chris, 28-2, 16 KOs, 30 years old now. Of course, as we said, he's coming off that Mickey Conlon win over there at his hometown. That was in Belfast in May of this year. Now, in December of 2022, of course, he defeated Josh Warrington, and that was in his hometown of Leeds. That was a majority decision, even though he dominated that fight, but it was over there in the UK, so we kind of expected some weird scorecards there against Conlon. No doubt, knocked him out, stopped him, and then some other notable names. Isaac Lowe, also over there in the UK, defeated him. Gabriel Flores Jr., that should have been a stoppage. They should have stopped that fight. That was in Tucson, Arizona. They should have stopped that one for sure. I think I was watching a clip. They actually threw the towel the last 15 seconds of the fight. Gabriel Flores' father, they threw the towel in. The referee didn't notice it, and Flores was allowed to finish that fight, but that should have been a stoppage. That was dominant by Luis Alberto Lopez, and then he defeated Andy Vences as well. So he defeated some good names, some prospects, some guys that maybe people saw him as the underdog, but he took him out. And now he's going against Joet Gonzalez, he should be the big underdog in this fight. He has 3 defeats. He does have 26 wins, 15 KOs to his name. So 26-3, 15 knockouts. He's 29 years old, pretty much the same age as El Venado. As you stated, the difference is he hasn't been a champion before. He's lost to Isaac Dogbe. He lost to Emmanuel Navarrete. He lost to Shakur Stevenson. So those are not bad names to lose to, Chris. Those 3 right there. He's losing to some of the top guys. But I'm afraid he's going to lose to another top guy in El Venado.
Yeah, I think in your opinion, Venado, you mentioned he went overseas, fought in someone else's backyard. He fought Josh Warrington in late 2022 in December, and then he fought Michael Conlon May of this year. In a 12-month span, Gio, this guy could be the fighter of the year if he's able to do what many people expect him to do and beat Joet Gonzalez. Obviously, you have names like Terrence Crawford with that big win in that contention, but in a 12-month span, I don't see how you can argue that Venado Lopez is in contention for Fighter of the Year. You just mentioned all those names that, maybe in the last 3 years, he's probably, one of the most transcending fighters to come into people's minds, as just been dominant, has been, just breaking through all these fighters, all these name fighters. Man, there's a lot of people that don't put him in the top 10. I think he's made a case, to break into that top 10. Maybe not the most fluid boxing style, maybe not, the most known fighter for mainstream fans, but I don't know, man. I feel like something big's going to happen. And again, not to take anything away from Joet Gonzalez. Joet has also fought many, many names, come up short, but, there's a lot of fighters that are known in the mainstream that haven't fought as many names as Joet. So you got to like this kind of fight. It's those kinds of fights that a lot of people don't know that they won't tune in, but I feel like it's going to be a barn burner, and we're going to enjoy it. Again, it's September 15th weekend. I think a lot of people will tune in just to watch boxing without really knowing these guys, and they're going to be in for a treat.
Yeah, and the only thing that does worry me or concerns me about Venado is, you mentioned his style. Not the most um, traditional technical boxing style. He started boxing pretty late. I believe he said 22 years old. He was a soccer player before that. Was getting into many fights. They recommended him go to the boxing gym. He liked it. He was good at it. And look at him now. He's a champion, right? And he's getting all the props from the Mexican fans, all the props, of course, from people in Mexicali. And, little by little, he's growing his name. Let me tell you this. The country who does know a lot about him is the UK. All right? Let me tell you that much. They're familiar with Venado Lopez. And, I feel like he just needs a big fight here in the States. Obviously the Warrington fight was huge over there across the pond. Obviously the his last fight with Mickey Conlan too was a big one. But I feel like he can start something special here. Now he has, you can say a Mexican opponent, Mexican Independence Day weekend. Like you said, a lot of people are going to tune in. It's usually Canelo weekend. I think the arena might have been booked up that weekend, and that's why they pushed it to the 30th, that Canelo Charlo fight, if I'm not mistaken. But look, it's going to be on a Friday, Venado Lopez. I'm watching for sure. It's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be a war. The only thing that concerns me is, obviously against Warrington, obviously against Conlan, he knew he was fighting away, everything against him. I hope he gets up for this one. I hope he gets excited for this one. It sounds like he is. He's saying he wants a knockout. So, my only concern is, a lot of guys at that level, they get better as they fight better opponents. Now, you look at a guy like Joet, like you said, no disrespect, but he's not on Venado's level, So, hopefully Venado takes him seriously and those doesn't go in there, tries to carry him and play games, because Joet can be dangerous. Not the most powerful puncher, but he is durable. He's going to be in there. He's going to hang around, and you don't want to get caught with anything that you don't have to get caught with if you're Venado. But, I see this fight going maybe into the deeper rounds, 9, 10 maybe. But I think Venado, he's a guy who punishes you. Those punches add up. He doesn't have crazy one punch KO power, but those punches add up. He punches from crazy angles. He punches well to the body, of course, upstairs. He's a smart fighter. So I see this as an entertaining fight with Venado stopping Joet Gonzalez possibly in those later rounds, maybe 9, 10 for me.
I'm going to keep an eye on Venado Lopez's social media numbers. I feel like he's going to have a good jump come this weekend. You mentioned, again, the style. He's not the traditional boxer, but I think Mexican fans don't care. He reminds me, and of course people are going to throw shade at who I'm going to compare him with, but he reminds me a little bit of Antonio Margarito with, not a boxer style, but just a breaking down of his opponents. And people like Margarito for that. Obviously we found out later on that what he was doing, but people like somebody that just keeps breaking their opponents down, even though it's not the prettiest or it's not the most flashy, stylish. Mexican fans like somebody that just completely breaks their opponent down, and I think Pernell's going to come out with a lot more fans. Like you mentioned, he's been fighting overseas. He's been getting fans overseas. He's been getting respect from a lot of those UK Irish fans. But it's gonna probably feel very good to fight closer to home, closer to people that speak his language, that once he takes the mic, people are just gonna connect with him. And so I'm excited to see what what Lopez does and when he gets introduced to the fans here back at home.
Yeah, and very good card overall. Of course, Lopez defending his IBF featherweight title. This is at 126. Corpus Christi, Texas, ESPN Plus. Like I said, September 15th is a Friday. But very good undercard as well. Xander Zayas is on there, of course, Puerto Rican talent. We've been believing more and more, little by little, in Zayas, right, Chris? I feel like we both share that same sentiment.
Yeah, Xander again he's just a good kid, man. Once you meet him, he instantly you become a fan of him. He's just a humble kid, talented, works hard. He's a team player. We met him. He went to his teammates' fight when his teammates fought Ryan Garcia. He was just there supportive. It's just an overall good kid with a good head on his shoulders. Like I said earlier, ultra talented. Can speak English, Spanish. He's able to connect with the fan. And again, I know it's a reach, but in my opinion, if he stays the course, he could be the next Puerto Rico superstar. And it's been a minute since they've had one. And just like the UK, just like the Mexican fan base, the Puerto Rican fan base is just yearning for a star to get behind. So yeah, that's I want to see his growth, and I can't wait to see him back in action. He could be fighting. He'll be fighting the milkman down for. I'll watch him fight.
And he's surpassing Berlanga for sure. I don't think we have any doubt about that.
Yeah, of course, people like the bigger guy, the bigger punches and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's about longevity, and Xander has that. He's got more discipline. He's the type of guy that you could, if we're talking about basketball terms, that's the type of guy you build your team, your company around. So again, can't wait to see him do his thing. Of course, as he gets more fights, we're going to demand more from him, higher competition. But he's still very young. Last time we checked, it was 1920. So very, very young. You bring him up, carefully, but you pick, good competition, higher levels as you go up. And yeah, I think the sport's in good hands having somebody like that.
Sander Zayas versus Roberto Valenzuela Jr. Emiliano Vargas is also supposed to be on the undercard. Robson Conceição, Jermaine Ortiz as well. So they stacked that up. They stacked that up for the people in Corpus Christi, Texas. Of course, we'll be watching ESPN Plus. We'll be watching that. We'll be tuned in. Yes.
As I said, it's very smart. Usually, like we said, you get a guy like Canelo on this date. And when you have Canelo, you don't have to stack the card that much. People are gonna pay regardless. Who else is fighting in that card? So they're stacking it very well for the Mexican faithful for this Independence Day weekend. And I'm excited, man. People are gonna get the treat. Is this one on pay-per-view, Joe, or is it regular? How can people see it?
Yeah, it's regular ESPN or ESPN Plus. Obviously, if you have Spectrum, I think ESPN is back on. I don't know. They were working on that deal, but if you don't, for some reason, if you can't watch it on TV, you can watch it online. You can watch it on the app, ESPN Plus, and it's on a Friday. I like that it's a Friday, Chris. Hey, we get some boxing on a Friday evening. I'm not mad at that at all.
And because I'll take the girl out on Saturday, man.
There you go.
When's the last time you could do that? All right, Joe, I got to ask you, what's the prediction? When does this fight end? What round? By which way?
I'm going to say round 9. Venado stops him. I think he's going to punish him. I think he's going to punish him to the body early. He's going to sneak a lot of punches that Joet's not going to see, and I think they're going to have to stop it. TKO Venado. Round 9.
Hey, so you're claiming Venado's going to be the first guy to stop Joet Lopez. Shakur couldn't do it. Amarete couldn't do it.
He's going to do it.
You're saying, okay.
He's going to do it.
I'm going to predict that Venado loses a few early rounds. Because Joel is a good boxer. But I see Venado start to tear him down, break him down. I'm going to say that Joet is tough as nails, and he's able to get up, and he survives, and he goes a distance, but not before touching the canvas 2 to 3 times. I'm going to say he's tough. He's that tough a guy that he goes a distance, but he touches the canvas for sure. And Venado Lopez is able to knock him out, man, that just speaks volumes on his skill and his talent and his will and his power. So we'll see what happens. But I'm going to say that Joet is tough and he goes the distance.
I'm mad at that. I can see that as well. Venado reminds me a lot of Emmanuel Navarrete. Obviously, Navarrete a little bigger. He's about 4 or 5 inches taller, longer arms. But, they just have that unique style. They punch from different angles, strong with both hands, and they both got power. So, and they both showed a good chin as well. So, You know, it's going to be very hard to beat Venado. I see him having a lot of success in this fight. Obviously, like I said, I hope he gets up for this one. I hope he gets excited for it. I hope he, you know, takes that seriously, the fact that he's headlining, the fact that he's fighting on Mexican Independence Day weekend, and a lot of people will be watching. And I think he will. And that's why I think he'll get a stoppage.
Yeah, and even though he's the main event of this card, I feel like he's kind of taken this like, oh, people know that Canelo fights this month. This is like the appetizer to the whole month. So he's gonna want to show up. This is the chance for him to again acquire new fans, to make a case for bigger purses. He is a champ. He is in his moment. You know, the reason there's a good chance that, you know, he will knock out Joet. You know, just based on like him knowing that he has to make a statement, he has to make a message, and he does have the power. So if he does not go it out and I'm wrong when it comes to my distance prediction, I wouldn't be surprised. And I even give more props for that. So we'll see what happens. Nonetheless, when people have said it, when you get two Mexican fighters, Mexican blood, there's going to be action. Joet might try to box you, eventually the fight's going to break out. Like you said, I would have some awkward angles, punches that you don't see coming, weird uppercuts. Looping shots. It's gonna be great, man.
Would someone say Canelo? Someone say Canelo. All right, let's get into that, Chris, because you mentioned September 30th, or you see it on your screen. So Canelo Alvarez making an appearance again, Chris. You know, I didn't think I was gonna have to use. Obviously, you guys see the Canelo face right there on your screen. I didn't think we were gonna have to use this one over here anytime soon. All right, he just defeated Errol Spence Jr., but now people are pinning those two guys together. I mean, wow, Chris, is this even real? Obviously, when we first heard about it, we thought it was a joke. We all thought, hey, Terrence too small. You know, there was always obviously some talks of possibly Errol Spence facing Canelo. Even then, a lot of people were saying he was too small for Canelo. But obviously, Canelo has that assignment on September 30th. Charlo, 154-pound, undisputed champion. He has to get through that one first. I think 95% of us think that, you know, he'll get through that challenge. But, you know, should we even entertain the Terence Crawford talks? Chris, before him fighting Spence, I was through talking about Terence Crawford because this guy continued to fight random Eastern Europeans, didn't give us any fights that we wanted to see until he finally stepped up to challenge Errol Spence. But now this guy's becoming a regular on the show, Chris. Now we're talking about Terence Crawford, it feels like, every single week. So I'm definitely keeping this butt face here. I'm going to keep it around, not throwing it away because it seems like we'll be using this one for weeks and months and years to come, Chris.
Well, like you said, once upon a time, it was far-fetched. It was inconceivable to think somebody like Terence started like at 130, 135, 140, would ever face somebody like Canelo, who just started moving up divisions once from 154, 147, 154, 160, 168, even fighting at 175. It's kind of inconceivable, but it's crazy when you have a guy like Canelo, entertaining guys at 154, 160. Like you said, we talked about, Errol Spence, who at one time we thought he was going to beat Terence Crawford. He might, move up and face Canelo because he's got that frame, and then Canelo not being the biggest guy in those higher weight, standing at 5'8". We entertain that. It's crazy to even think this could happen. Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. If the money makes sense, the promoters they'll put Chicken Little with Godzilla. They'll make it happen if it sells. So is it possible? It can be. Can Terence withstand somebody as strong, as big as Canelo? We don't know. We don't know if that chin can hold up. But in my opinion, he does have skills to compete. We'll see after this Charlo Canelo fight if we even entertain it some more. But as of right now, I wouldn't say no to a fight because, again, the promoters will make it happen if it makes sense.
Yeah, well, let me tell you this. This guy right here will be Chicken Little against this guy over here. This guy will be Godzilla over here. So I think, Terrence too small. Suspect chin. We saw Gamboa hurt him. We saw a random Eastern European guy drop him. I don't think that fight will go to distance unless he decides to survive against Canelo. I think there's levels to this, and there's weight classes for a reason, man. You always hear that these guys are elite fighters, but sometimes that weight does make a difference. Look at Canelo against Bivol. He was just a little too big for him. It's not like Bivol went in there, knocked him out, or won every single round, but you can tell that weight made a difference, little by little in every round, and when it's 12 rounds and you fall behind, it's a point system. So, I'm not entertaining those talks. Obviously, everybody uses Canelo's name for clout. Crawford hadn't done it until now. And look, he's getting attention. That's what he needs, This was supposed to be the biggest fight of the century, they said. The fight with Errol Spence. Didn't get anywhere near 1 million pay-per-view buys, which I think is very disappointing for, two guys who had been building this fight for 5-6 years. So, hey, what do? You got to use Canelo's name for clout, right? Maybe one day he'll get that payday. Charlo's getting it now. I think it doesn't hurt to throw Canelo's name out there. Obviously, it does the complete opposite. I think it helps. More clout, more attention, more eyes. So, but as far as the fight itself, I'm not entertaining it. I think it's a blowout. So I think Crawford should stick to the welterweights. And Big Bro says Terrence too small. Even Goatnelo's biggest haters, Paulie and Teddy, are saying that. So it doesn't take a genius to see that. Obviously, Canelo's not the biggest guy. At 168, obviously not 175. Even at 160, he's like, I compare him to Castaño. And Castaño is a small 154. He's about the same height, similar frame. So it's not like Canelo's the biggest guy out there. You see him right there next to Charlo. He's not a big dude, but he is very strong and a very good boxer. So I think, just like you said, I think that fight against Charlo is going to be a good indicator, and we'll see how the size, as far as weight, how that factors into all of this. But, I continue to say it last time, it's not like Charlo's smaller than Canelo. He's taller. They probably walk around at the same weight. So I'm not sure if that's the best example of that, but I think a better example will probably be Canelo against Khan. Demolished him. Even Khan said he was warning Crawford against going up. We saw what happened to Khan. These guys are Canelo size. Josecito Lopez, demolished. Even guys like Kirkland, who were a little bigger than Canelo at the time, demolished. So I think the only guys that could beat Canelo at this point in his career are the 175-pounders. I don't see anyone. Not David Benavidez, not any Caleb Plant, all the guys who they were saying could beat Canelo, Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders. You saw what happened to those guys. The same thing's going to happen to David Benavidez. So I think only guys to beat him, it would probably be Bivol and Beterbiev. You got to put him up against the big guys. But, I'm not. It's probably the last time I'll be talking about possible Canelo against Big Shark now. I'm going to call him that Big Shark Terrence.
Damn, nice. I like that. So let me just start by saying I do not
Chris.
in any way, shape, or form think that Terrence can beat the Canelo that we see now. Let me just say that. But I do believe that he in his head wants to challenge himself and he wants to, take on, the face of boxing. I think after, doing what he did to Errol Spence, he feels like there's no more competition in that welterweight division. He knows that he has to bust a Lomachenko and go up if he wants to challenge himself. And he took offense. Let's just say how it is. He took offense to a tweet that Canelo sent out, where Canelo said that Terrence has pretty much nobody has one name on his resume, and that's it. And
Facts.
and, and
Facts.
Terrence bit. I don't agree with Canelo. I don't agree that that's the only name that he has. I would give him credit for one or two more names. But hey, let Canelo, to me, that's entertainment. Let him talk his smack. If Terrence bites and they're able to make it down the line, it would be interesting for however long it lasts. You have to admit, Terrence is no Amir Khan. Terrence is no Josecito. He's an ultra gifted welterweight. Of course, there's weight classes for a reason, but this would be entertaining. You know, it would be a good little build up. It would be nice, entertaining to, you know, ultra talented fighters. Of course, there's a size difference, but there's not a really high difference. They're both 5'8". Like you mentioned, Canelo's much more muscular, bigger frame. So Terrence is going to have to beef up if they're even want to entertain, you know, a chance at winning. But yeah, we'll see what happens with Charlo. If Canelo knocks him out in sensational fashion, that might deter Terrence from mentioning that name again. So I'm here for the team, man. I'm here to see how they respond after this September 30th fight. And like we said, this is a good indicator for Terrence. I believe Terrence is more talented boxing-wise than Jermell Charlo, but he's also smaller than the bigger frame Jermell. So, yeah, man, this is going to be interesting. We'll see what this brings about. For me, there's more excitement in boxing because of this, because of everything that's been thrown out with Danny Garcia, with Keith Thurman. You know, it's getting entertaining once again. You know, and I'm going to defend Bud. It's because now they want to play with it. So I'll leave it at that, Gio. What are your thoughts?
They do anything for clout, Chris. They do anything for clout. That's my response. But look, Chris, when will you say the last time? And I only call him Big Shark because I saw in some comments people were calling Errol Spence Baby Shark. So I thought it's appropriate to call him Big Shark. But when will you say the last time Canelo actually faced someone his size? I have a name in mind.
The last time we got somebody his size. 160, 154.
Shout out to Jesus checking in. Chris,
I want to say Kirkland.
Chris, let me help you out. I believe it's Miguel Cotto. Right, Miguel Cotto was a champion at 160. Refused to fight Canelo at 160. I think it was like a 158, which I don't think we've ever seen that before. Cotto was a champion. It was a fight for the champion. I think it was the WBC. And he still didn't want to fight Canelo at 60, so he fought him at 57. So we saw what happened there. That was easy money for Canelo. I think that was the last time he actually faced someone his size. The guys his size can't hurt him, Chris. They can't hurt him. So anyone, Crawford, all those guys, they can't hurt Canelo. Even a guy like Charlo, who's bigger, I don't think they can hurt Canelo. But I think this is still a good test for Canelo here. Obviously, we're going to get more into this fight next weekend with Charlo, because that's the one I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about any fantasy fights with guys who don't matter. I don't know if you want to answer this now or save it for next time, but I can ask you now. What would you say Canelo's top 5 wins are? There's a lot of names there. I don't know if you want to think about it and answer next week or go off the top now. Jesus says Crawford beats Canelo. Jesus, stop. I know it's late at night. You're probably on that Henny. When that Henny's in the system, ain't no telling.
I'll give you my top 5 by the end of the show. We'll close it out with that. But I'll bring something up. I used to criticize Canelo a lot for fighting what I call smaller guys. Like Josecito Lopez was one of those fights early on that I criticized Canelo a lot for. Amir Khan was another one. But I'm the type of person I give respect where it's due. Canelo went completely the other way, started fighting bigger guys, and like you said, I had to think about it. Who was the last guy he fought that was his size? Because of course all these guys are bigger than Canelo. So for me, at least, he shoved my critique up. So for me, if you fight guys that are bigger, then I'm not going to criticize you for going the other way, as long as those smaller guys prove themselves that they're worthy of the payday, so worthy of the challenge. So I'm not too mad at this Charlo fight, and I wouldn't be mad at the Terrence if Terrence were to put on more weight, win some fights. At least at 154, look dominant. I wouldn't be mad, at least for Canelo, because he's gone. Like I said, he's gone up. If you go up and take those challenges, then you should get a pass when you fight a guy that's smaller but very talented. So for me, that's not the question. But yeah, man, I just wanted to bring up that point, and I know that's something that we used to talk a lot about. So yeah, we're here to be convinced. So Canelo's done that.
Yeah, I think that's the equivalent of criticizing Loma for beating up on Rigo, when he's fighting all these bigger 135 pounders, But Big Bro makes a good point. He says Canelo Ryder was about his size, and Triple G the third one. Yeah, Ryder was about his size. I would say he's a little more muscular, used to those higher weight classes, 160, 168. But yeah, that one was close size-wise. Mad Dog says Canelo murders Crawford. Jesus says Crawford has too many traps for Canelo. Hey, Jesus, YouTube, Crawford versus Gamboa. YouTube that fight. Get back to me. Big Bro says G, Lara, Trout, Kovalev, and Beefy. Canelo gets tired in 6th round and uses all his energy. Jesus, name one fighter who does not get tired. I dare you. All athletes get tired, Jesus. Newsflash. Maybe Cotton or Callum Smith. Billy Joe tied for 5th, says Big Bro. He says some people don't know ish about boxing. Chris, you want to take an attempt? What's your top 5 Canelo opponents' victories? It's difficult. It's difficult. There's a lot of names there, and that's why I like doing things like this, because just to put into perspective, because I can name you Charlo's top 5 wins. Should I do it now or after?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so Charlo, just to put this into perspective, I would say his best win was Castaño. The second one, obviously, he knocked him out. The first one, myself, like most people, saw him losing. So the rematch, he got that one back. Number 2 for me is Harrison. He lost the first one, got the second one back. He was actually losing the second fight until the knockout came. So to me, that's number 2. 3, Jason Rosario, very good win. Stopped him with a body shot. And 4, 5, I struggled, honestly. But I would say 4, maybe Lubin.
That's good.
5, maybe Trout. He fought an older Trout ready to retire, and that was a majority. I really couldn't come up with other ones. He actually defeated Gabe Rosado back in 2014 as well. But Rosado already had 7 losses. So that's what I would say. Castaño, Harrison, Rosario, Lubin, and then a semi-retired Trout. Just to put into perspective. All right, let's go to Canelo's now. Who would you say are his best wins?
Well, number 1, you got to put a Triple G in there. Triple G.
Hey, let me tell you this. I think Canelo's number 5 through 10 wins, best wins, are probably better than Charlo's 1 through 5. But I'll let you finish, Chris.
So I'm going to say a Triple G. I'm going to agree with something that Big Bro said. I'm going to say Triple G. I'm going to say Kovalev, because he was going up, and Kovalev's had all that experience in that division. I'm going to also say, I'm going to say Lara. I agree with Lara, because that one was like, that Canelo was not the Canelo that we know now. That he was still, kind of growing in his talent. He had just finished losing to Mayweather. So Lara, that's a good one. I'm gonna give him credit for Billy Joe Saunders too. I think that's a big one in that Billy Joe wasn't defeated, and nobody had really given Billy Joe too much trouble then. So Billy Joe's a good one, and I'm gonna say Beefy Smith just because Callum Smith was the Twin Tower. That guy, huge.
So Callum, Beefy is his brother.
Yeah, Callum Smith.
Beefy was
Callum
54.
Smith. That's the other beef. Okay, so the beef.
Callum.
So yeah, I would say Callum Smith. So those would be my 5.
Okay, so you
Triple
said
G.
Triple G. You said Lara. You said who else?
I said Lada. I said Kovalev.
Okay.
I sure.
You said Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders. Right. I think Chris froze, but I think that's what he named. He said, I think he's back. But I think you said Triple G. You said Lara. You said Kovalev. You said Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders. Right. My list is a little different. Let's see. I have Triple G at 1. Triple G, the rematch. I think that was an impressive win. 2, I agree with Lara. Canelo was still green at that point. I think I mention this all the time. Golden Boy didn't want him to fight Lara. I think he got like a guaranteed like 1.5 million for that fight. But he took the risk, won that fight. Lara refused to throw punches, but people still think he won somehow. I don't know how you win a fight without throwing punches, but I think that was a clear Canelo win. To me, 3 and 4 were difficult, and I said 3 Trout because same reason. Yeah. Canelo was still green. Trout was coming off that Cotto win, right? Yeah. Trout was undefeated. Difficult southpaw. And to me, I put him over Cotto because he defeated Cotto. I have Cotto on number 4 just because he made it look super easy. Like I said, 160 fight. Cotto didn't want to fight at 160. He fought him at a freaking catch weight for the belt, which was crazy. Never heard of that before. But he made it look easy against Cotto. And it's not like Cotto was way washed, way past his prime. He had beaten some decent names there at 160. So I have Triple G, the rematch, 1, Lara, 2, Trout, 3, Cotto, 4, and 5 was difficult for me. I had either Billy Joe or Callum Smith for different reasons. Billy Joe was a guy that was undefeated. He had beaten some good names, and everybody in the UK was saying that Canelo was ducking this guy, that Triple G was ducking this guy because he's a southpaw, quote-unquote slick, right? And Canelo made it look easy. People don't give him credit for that, but he made it look easy against a guy who a lot of guys didn't want to fight. Billy Joe Saunders beat David Lemieux easily. Who was the other name that he defeated? I can't remember, but he had another top name that he defeated easily too. And then Callum Smith, for the reasons that you said, the guy's 6'4", 6'5", big dude. He moved up in weight right after that, and now he's knocking everyone out at 175. So that was tough for me, but Triple G, Lara, Trout, Cotto, and Billy Joe or Callum, whoever you want to take. But the other notable ones that I wrote down, I put Shane Mosley. Even though Mosley was a little lighter and older, Canelo made it look easy. I don't think we've ever seen Shane Mosley get dominated like that, even when he was older. Even when he was older, he got wins over guys like Pablo Cesar Cano. So I think that was impressive for a 19-year-old Canelo. Daniel Jacobs made that one look easy. Jacobs ballooned up, didn't respect that IBF rehydration clause, just like against Triple G. Weighed in 190 pounds, 200 pounds on fight night. Canelo made it look easy. Caleb Plant, also Canelo made it look easy. And Kovalev at 75, I think those are impressive. But, however you want to move the pieces around, that's a Hall of Fame career right there. And kind of just puts it into perspective. All these guys out here are just maybe have 1, maybe 2 notable wins. Jesus names David Benavidez. I think the guy has 1 notable win in Plant. These guys are out here still, trying to get some names under the belt. And Canelo's been doing this for so long. So, that's why you see him on that Forbes top 10 highest paid, Chris. He's been doing this for a long time. These guys are trying to be him, but you gotta beat the names to be the guy.
Yeah. Let me just say that Terrence Crawford took offense because Canelo did say you only have 1 name.
He does. And only 1 name. That's all he has.
And to Terrence's defense, he probably has 3 names.
Oh, I want to hear this. I want to hear this. Oh man, I want to hear this. I would give him 1 name. I would give him 1 name, but no one knows who this guy is. So, who would you say those names are?
Mean Machine. You gotta give him credit for Porter and Errol Spence.
Oh,
And then there's
stop it. Mean Machine? You got to be kidding me, Chris. How low are we going?
that guy gave him a better fight than Errol. That guy gave him a better fight than all these other dudes.
Chris.
Just because
who would you say? All right, let's compare resumes. Who would you say who can you compare the Mean Machine on Canelo's resume?
Oh wait, well let me go to my point.
Fucking Yildirim. Yildirim. Come on,
now
man.
I'm just saying, let's go to my point. My point was that Canelo probably has a right to say you only have one name when you have a resume.
That's like saying Junior did a better job than guys like Caleb Plant because he survived 12 rounds. Come on, man.
I would give credit to Mean Machine. I would probably compare him to. What would I compare him to?
I compare him to Ryder, if anything, but he ain't no Ryder. He ain't no Ryder. He didn't beat the top guy in his division. Ryder defeated Callum Smith when Callum Smith was the guy. I never seen Mean Machine do that.
Mean Machine on
you gotta be kidding me, man.
Resume would be.
You gotta be kidding me.
Would it be? I would say
Perro Angulo, maybe. Come on, man. Look, we're trying to help you out, Chris. Big Bro says Postal. That's the other name I wanted to give him. He was undefeated at 140. He's big 140. Obviously, he fell off now. He's losing to everyone. But at the time, Postal was that guy, and Terrence defeated him. But like I said, no one knows him, so no one's gonna give him credit for that. But Postal was a very good name. Mean Machine, get out of here, Chris. Man, I'm about to throw this butt face out of here. I'm about to rip it in your face. You better stop it. You better stop it, man.
Come on, Yildirim lasted like 2 rounds and nothing back. I would put him in the.
Come on, man.
I would say he's like a Caleb Plant, but without the title. But
come on, Chris, you got to be kidding me, man.
Hey, it's hard to win a title at 147 when you got guys like Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford.
Yordenis Ugas had a title. What are you talking about?
Bro, I could get a title in Caleb's Plant division.
You got to be kidding me, man. You got to be kidding me. Disrespectful. Big Bro says Mean Machine was just a tough contender. Got smoked by Virgil. You got to be kidding me, man.
He hurt Virgil, too. Come on, now.
Gamboa hurt Crawford. So they both got knocked out.
Gamboa hurt Crawford. Man, disrespect.
You got to be kidding me, man.
But, okay, so we got Canelo let's just keep it real. Hey. Nobody compares to Canelo's resume. So my point is, he can say that to 99% of boxers out there that you only have one name compared to all his names.
One name, that's all he got. One name past his prime. One name after 2 car accidents and a torn retina.
Okay, look at these. Mad Dog says Mean Machine's like roads. A little disrespectful, but Mean Machine was like Kirkland. That's probably accurate right there, Kirkland. You know, that's pretty accurate.
Kirkland actually had a belt at one point. Yeah, I wouldn't even say he's Kirkland because Kirkland at 154 was actually one of the top guys. Mean Machine has never been one of the top guys at 47. That's disrespectful.
Kirkland had a belt?
He probably did. I don't know. But I know he was one of the top guys at 54. He was undefeated.
54? I could get about 154.
Oh, stop
147 and under is tough.
Chris, you haven't made 154 since 8th grade. Stop it.
I'm just saying 147 and under, it gets a little tougher, man.
You got to be kidding me.
It gets a little tougher. At 154, they're passing the belt around every weekend, man. Come on now. Let's not kid ourselves.
You got to be kidding me, Chris.
But again, yeah. Hey, speaking of Bobby Machine, he called out Terrence Crawford. He said, like, I gave you a better fight than all these guys. So let's run it back. What do you think on that?
I don't know. We got to see it. He already got whooped by Virgil.
Let's go.
Man, I still can't believe you said that, man. That's not top 5. That's bottom 5 things that you've ever said. That's crazy. That's crazy.
All right, where do you... Postal, who
man, Mean Machine is Rocky Fielding, bro. That's who he is. But anyway, moving on. What'd you say? What'd you say? What were you asking?
What do you compare Postal to Canelo's resume?
Let's see. It's a good one, man. There's a lot of good names up there, but I would say Postal like a guy like probably like Caleb Plant. Because to me, like Callum was number 1, Billy Joe number 2, and Plant to me was number 3 at that division. I think Postal was number 2 behind Crawford, obviously, but at the time there was no one at 40. So, I'd say he's like a Caleb Plant. I wouldn't say he's a Billy Joe. Billy Joe got some names under his belt. I wouldn't say he's Callum.
What? Did you say Callum?
No, I wouldn't say he's Callum. No.
He's not Callum?
Postal's never been number 1 in any division. I wouldn't rank him that high.
He's a multiple. I think at least he was a unified. I would say he's probably like a Daniel Jacobs, something along them lines. Obviously not similar, but title holder. He fought a bunch of good names. He was a blue chip fighter for a while up until he did beat a bunch of good names. We go down his resume. He's got a bunch of good names, but I would say he's a little bit higher than Daniel Jacobs in my opinion.
I can see that.
Maybe like a Billy Joe. Maybe like a Billy Joe.
I can see that. But Billy Joe, I think at one point he was the man at 160. Obviously, Golovkin was always there, but I think Billy Joe got his best names at 60. 68, not so much, but Big Bro says Postal will be like 7 or 8 on Goatnelo's resume, and that's being generous. I agree 100%. He's probably lower than that.
I mean, he's got some. He has some good names. He had Matisse on his. Matisse on his resume, but they started taking a bunch of losses once he got out of his prime.
Let me tell you this, man. I think Matisse quit in that fight, but let me tell you this. People will remember Terrence Crawford for one fight, and that's it. You're not going to remember him for a Postal fight or a fight against the Mean Machine or anything like that. You're going to remember him for one fight.
I mean, if he retires today, yeah. If he retires today, they'll remember him for that fight, but that 35-year-old still got a lot of miles in him, in my opinion. But, yeah, man. Like you say, you wouldn't purchase a Canelo versus a Terrence Crawford if say they fought at 158, Gio?
I'll purchase it. I think that's too low of a weight, but I think any Canelo fight is worth purchasing. I think I think he has maybe 2 years left in his prime, 1 or 2 more years in his prime. So of course, if that fight happens within that time frame, of course, I'm watching Canelo, of course.
If the fight does happen, what's the lowest you think Canelo goes, realistically?
Like 64, maybe. I know he was saying that. It was impossible for him to go down to like the 60s and stuff. So I don't think he wants to. I don't think. I'm not sure he can. I'm not sure it's good for his body at his age. But he was saying, I think on the Breakfast Club, he's like, "No, it's not gonna happen. I'm not going that low in weight." Because I asked him about the fight, and he says if he wants it at 168, then cool, but I'm not going down.
Obviously, you don't think that Terrence can win. I don't think Terrence can beat Canelo. What would happen if a miracle would happen and he were to shock not just you, me, but everybody, and he wins? Where would you put Terrence Crawford? With a win like that.
Pound for pound, I think obviously the biggest name in boxing, so he would have to be number 1. If he were to defeat Canelo, be the same thing that I said about Errol Spence. He probably has to retire. It's probably that time. There's 0% chance of a Crawford defeating a healthy Canelo. I'll say that much. Any weight class. Any weight class, 0% chance.
Okay. So,
Spence, let me read this comment. Spence would be 5 on Goat Nellos or 6 based on where he was after the accident, eye injury, and weight drain for years at 147. Yeah, I don't think he cracks even the top 5 on Canelo's resume, a guy like Spence. This version of
I
Spence.
don't know.
Now, an undefeated Spence 3 years ago, maybe yes. But this version, not at all.
I mean, obviously, you're like, okay, so who would Errol Spence be in Canelo's resume?
That version, Chavez Jr.
Oh, come on. Disrespectful. Respectful.
Nah, I would say a guy like probably like a Billy Joe, I would say. I think that's a good comparison because Billy Joe, I think when Canelo fought him, Billy Joe, I wouldn't say he was at his best moment of his career. Obviously, he was still undefeated. He was a solid champion, but I think Billy Joe was better at 160. And he hadn't fought at 160 in a couple years or a few years. So he was very inactive. So I think that's why I would say Billy Joe. I don't think the best version of Billy Joe fought Canelo. I think he still loses to Canelo, but I think we've seen a better version of Billy Joe at 160 than 168.
Okay. Let's say Errol Spence was healthy. If Errol Spence was healthy the way everybody hoped he was on Fight Night, if Terrence beats him, who would he be on Canelo's resume?
I think a guy like Lara.
Damn. Like Lara?
I think a guy like Lara.
Not Triple G.
Not Triple G, man. Not Triple
What's
G.
that?
Man,
Why is that?
Spence wasn't knocking 20 dudes out in a row. Spence
Okay,
wasn't.
but he was not. Yeah.
I know they call him the boogeyman, but Spence was no boogeyman. Triple G, I think he has a record for. I think he tied Hopkins for the most middleweight title defenses. And that run that he had put him at number 1 pound for pound for some people. At one point. I don't think anyone has ever put Spence number 1 pound for pound or number 2. Triple G was very active. He was running. He was literally dominating every single fighter. I don't think Spence did that. I don't think he had that long of a run. I think Lara would be appropriate. A lot of guys didn't want to fight Lara. Difficult style. If you look at Spence, he has like 4 or 5 good names, but I wouldn't say he was Triple G at Triple G's height.
Okay, you make a valid point. So what welterweight in history would
Big Bro
would have
says
been,
Cotton. Big Bro says Cotton.
Cotton? The one that was already old? The Cotton that beat no knees Martinez? Get out of here. Come on, Alexis.
He says, put some respect on G's name. He was top 3 pound for pound undeniably, and ninjas were avoiding him like the plague, he says.
Okay, no, for sure. Yeah, I do agree that
Hey, let's be honest. No one was really avoiding Spence. Like, he fought against all the top guys at 47. G couldn't get a fight at one point. He had to fight guys like Dominic Wade.
for real.
Billy Joe wanted no part of that. Eubank Jr. wanted no part of that. Even now, guys are not calling out Triple G. Charlos wanted no part of that.
Yeah. No, I do agree that there's nobody on at Terrence's resume the way it was. That's even Triple G. Triple G was a freak of nature. I still give him credit for that first fight against Canelo. The second one, I give credit to Canelo for that second one. But definitely Triple G. There's not a lot of anybody that can say that they're similar to Triple G. But I okay, Lara. That's a good assessment. That's pretty. That's pretty clear. I'll probably give Errol Spence a little bit more credit just because he has
Stop it.
more power. than Lada, but I see the similarities.
Let's go to comment real
Yeah.
quick. Mad Dog says, I don't see Canelo taking a Crawford fight. It's a lose-lose situation for Canelo. Nobody will give him credit for that one. And Big Bro says he agrees because that's exactly what he said, right? No one's going to give him credit for defeating a Crawford. But also, let's keep it real, man. Crawford, what would he sell with Spence, which is supposed to be the biggest welterweight fight in, I don't know, the past 20 years, 30 years is what they were saying. They were comparing it to the Four Kings era, you know. What was it, like 600K? Nowhere near a million pay-per-views. Canelo could make bigger fights. Benavidez sells over 1 million easily. If he fights Bivol, I think a lot of people will buy into that one too. Who else is out there who he can sell with? Who would you say is a fight like Beterbiev? Obviously, I don't see that one happening. I think Beterbiev is too big, but I think people will buy those fights over a Crawford. Crawford is going to be Canelo selling the fight by himself. Crawford against Khan was selling 40,000 pay-per-views out here.
Yeah. No, I completely agree that Canelo doesn't win a whole lot by being a smaller guy like a Terrence Crawford. Maybe just the respect of the boxing community in a sense, you know, just by beating an ultra-talented smaller guy. But yeah, honestly, I think this is good for boxing just because Terrence doesn't have that built-in fan base. He's not the most entertaining guy outside the ring, very quiet, keeps to himself. Similar to Errol Spence, you know, that just goes to his farm, keeps to himself, not a big trash talker, but it would be good to bring the profile up, especially if you're an American fighter. And obviously they would pin the whole USA against Mexico. It would be good for TV. It'd be good for, you know, the rivalry.
Let me tell you this too. We didn't see Crawford in any interviews before this, right? Now he has that whole press run before and after the fight. I see it as now he's talking to shit. You know, he has a lot of people, a lot of microphones now, a lot of cameras. People are asking him about this and that, and I think he's just entertaining it. I'm not sure if he would actually take the fight. I don't think he would. I think he definitely would take the paycheck, you know, but I don't know. I don't know how realistic the actual fight would be for a guy like him, man. I think the lights got a little to him, and he started saying Canelo's name, and now everyone's talking, and now he's excited because he's finally getting attention. But yeah, I don't know how realistic this whole thing is, Chris.
All right, let me pose this question. What fight do you think would be more competitive for Canelo? Jermell Charlo or Terrence Crawford?
Jermell or Crawford? I think Jermell. Yeah, I think Jermell.
Based on size?
Based on size, based on power, I think Jermell's obviously bigger. I think Canelo's going to respect that power a little bit more. And I think against Crawford, he would be a little more confident, you know, fighting a quote-unquote smaller guy. A confident Canelo, it's game over. You gotta take his confidence away like Bivol did. You know, I think he's going to be confident against Jermell too, but I think once a couple rounds pass by, he'll figure him out, and I think he stops Jermell. But, you know, I saw an interview today of Canelo saying he actually felt 100% at training camp, didn't have any injuries. He says he feels confident and comfortable and fast and strong, and he's looking good. So I think he's confident regardless, but I think he'll have a little more confidence against the smaller Crawford.
Interesting. I disagree. Obviously, like you mentioned, the size, the height, you know, maybe even the reach would make you feel like he has, more resistance or a better chance at giving Canelo trouble. I honestly think that he walks into Canelo's game plan. I think Jermell, even though he's very talented, you know, he's the undisputed champ at 154. Even though he's paid, in my opinion, all the dues. He's answered the the things that Canelo has opposed, which is fight everybody, then I'll give you a title shot. I'll give you, you know, the lottery ticket. He's done all that. For me, in my opinion, Jermell is just too emotional. Again, I think his emotions will carry into the fight, and he will walk like into one of Canelo's traps. I I think a guy like Terence Crawford, even though he's smaller and probably doesn't have as much punch resistance against a guy like Canelo, you might think it's easy pickings for Canelo. He'll hurt him. He'll do what Canelo did to Amir Khan. But I think Terence is more disciplined. He knows he's a smaller guy. He knows he can't be making mistakes. And with his skill set, with his power, even being a smaller guy, yeah, I think he's got concussive power. I think he'll give Canelo a more competitive fight than Jermell, even with that size, advantage for Jermell. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't think it's by way off. I think Terence is a better fighter than Charlo, but like you said, punch resistance. It don't matter. He can win 6 rounds. If he gets hit, Amir Khan, night, sleep time. All right, so
you're not wrong. Yeah, I'm gonna say you're not wrong. Amir Khan was probably winning.
Oh, he was winning the fight for sure. It's all good though. Yeah. Billy Joe had a lot of success too. It's all good. You got to be able to take that punch. Once that punch lands, things change. But yeah, we'll get into a little bit more next week. Obviously, Charlo, Canelo, September 30th. That's the cherry on top for September. Very good boxing year. The face of boxing. People want to say, oh, why is he fighting this guy? Why is he fighting that guy? But when the face of boxing fights, everyone gets excited, Chris. You're going to see all these channels talking about him. You're going to see him on ESPN. You're going to see him all over all the sports news. That's a Canelo effect, and I'm sure, Charlo will benefit from it as well. Obviously he's going to get the paycheck. He's going to get more eyes on him, more followers, all that stuff. I did watch the All Access episode. It was good. But let me tell you this. One thing that I am kind of disappointed in, I think one thing that was wiped out, talking about Crawford, talking about Spence, I think one thing that now got swept under the rug and no one's talking about is now Eddie against Derek James. Eddie and also Derek James. I think to us, those were our last 2 picks for trainers of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, Derek James now seems to be off that list with the big Spence loss. But, if he's able to pull something big here, maybe he's back on that list, Chris. But I think that's one thing that no one's talking about now, the Eddie Reynoso against Derek James, mind games and tactical game plans. No one's talking about it now, obviously, because of what happened to Spence. Yeah. But I think that's still something that we should, keep in mind.
Yeah, like you said, people kind of erase them. There's still 6. There's still months in the year. We could have somewhat of a shocker here, and they did activate that rematch clause, right? We're still waiting. We're still gonna have a couple weeks to find the details of that fight that's still down at 154. Which let's not kid ourselves. If Errol Spence wants a chance, he's not gonna fight at 147. He's gonna have to be at a bigger weight class. So again, we're gonna have to wait a couple weeks to see what happens with that, where they fight. But the rematch has been activated. What were your thoughts when you heard the news about that, Gio?
I think they were saying December. I think that's the part that I was very surprised. I'm not surprised that he activated that clause. You guys saw the video there, the epilogue after the fight in the dressing room. Spence asking his kids, like, should we run it back? And it seemed like he was going to activate that rematch clause. Now, yeah, I agree. I think it has to be at 54. I think that tells me a lot. The fact that Spence right away he's like rematch 54. That tells me he can't make 47 anymore. He doesn't care about the titles. He don't care about undisputed. He's just trying to win at this point. And that just tells me there's no chance that he's making 47 because he didn't even care about the titles anymore. We just said rematch 154. Let's do it. Like, he didn't mention undisputed. He didn't mention championships. He didn't mention like Canelo. I know Canelo said, hey, he beat me at 75. I want to beat him at 75. Spence was like, fuck that. 54. So yeah, that tells me a lot. But not surprised. I am surprised it's in December. I don't know if that's accurate or true or if that's actually going to happen. But I don't think that's enough time for Spence to recover. took
I
a
was going to
beating.
say that
He took a beating, Chris.
Say that again?
Yeah, I said he took a beating, man. He took a beating.
Yeah. I was going to say, obviously, when you hear him saying, I'm going to run it back at 154, when you heard it like days removed from the fight, you know, obviously the smoke hasn't settled. You're probably saying at that point, it doesn't matter if they fight at 160, 168. Terrence Crawford took his soul. You know, there's no way Errol Spence is bouncing back from that. Now that a couple of weeks, a month has passed, Gio, do you feel like he has a chance at 154, or do you feel like it's no different?
Yeah, I think he has a better chance at 54. I think he'll be more confident. Like Canelo was saying in his interview, you know, when you train injured, when you don't train 100%, that affects you in the fight because mentally you're doubting yourself. You know, that's when he was talking about now I'm 100%. Now my hand is good. Now I'm ready. I feel confident. I think Spence will feel better, a little stronger at 54, and sometimes that little bit of confidence can make the difference, even if it's delusion. You know, I think that could still make the difference. And I think that taking that beating by Crawford, I think he'll have to obviously change his game plan, fight a little more careful. Not sure how drastic that change will be, but yeah, I think if he's able to take advantage of his size, he has a slight, you know, size advantage over Crawford. We saw it at 47 in that fight. Anything that he was getting touched with, he was going down. I don't think he was healthy at all. We've never seen Spence go down. He was getting touched with a jab. He went down the first time. I mean, that tells me he just wasn't healthy at all. I don't think he'll be healthy in December, but at least I think he'll feel a little more comfortable at 54, in my opinion, at least.
I agree.
And I think, I don't know, you said he took his soul. I don't think you give him any chance.
That's how at least that's how I felt, and I feel like that's how, you know, that's what a lot of people felt. You know that night, the next couple of days. As for me, the smoke has settled a bit. You know, he's, like you said, he's gonna feel a lot better. He's gonna feel, you know, he's not gonna be killing himself to make weight. He's gonna be able to work on like you said, the game plan. You know, and I'm intrigued by it. I'm not saying that Terrence still won't be able to hurt him, but it's going to be a little bit different. Errol Spence's punch resistance will be a little bit better. Bigger frame, bigger body, more muscle. And then that's going to tell us a lot about Terrence Crawford, how he's going to be able to implement that frame, that small frame that he has at a bigger weight class. So I'm intrigued by that. Again, we're going to be getting a couple of answers from this Canelo Charlo at a bigger weight class. This one at 154, if it does happen in December, it's going to give us a couple more answers. So I'm intrigued by this. Do I expect a different outcome? Not at this moment. Again, I'll wait a couple more weeks, I'm sure, as we see them engage in their training, the press conferences. We'll start to make, you know, more up-to-date analysis. But yeah, definitely this fight that happened at 147 has to happen at 154, and that's the selfish side of me that wants to know, can a Canelo and a Crawford happen at a higher weight class? You know, you have to meet somewhere in the middle to have a dream match at this level. Let's not kid ourselves. You cannot get the La Hoya Pacquiao type of fights. You have to find some common ground where you will get some credit. Like you said, Canelo said that he's not going to get credit if he fights, you know, somebody that small. You're going to have to make it a little bit, you know, somewhere down the middle. So I'm intrigued. 154, 160, that seems to be where the money bags are at.
Yeah, and talking about Canelo, look, let me tell you this. I think if he fought at 54 or 60, he wouldn't be the fighter that he is. You know, he's a lot stronger at 68, you know. So I think 54, I think a little bit of advantage Spence, because I don't think Crawford will gain that much weight. I don't think he's going to balloon up. I think Spence will, and I think a little bit of advantage there, Spence. But we'll have to wait and see. I hope it does happen, though. I hope it happens, so we know that it wasn't a fluke, so we know that, you know, it wasn't the layoff, it was this, it was that, you know. Hopefully they get it on, and then hopefully we see something different, because I think that was just, it was too easy. that's not the Spence that we know. So hopefully, the older Spence, the older version of Spence, shows up at 54. I don't know how difficult that is, man. That's 3 months away, man. That's hard.
If you're his promoter, what do you advise him? When do you make this fight? What venue? What dates? What do you tell Errol Spence?
I advise him to, activate that rematch clause, announce the fight, and then get injured. Wink, wink. And then try to fight like in March, April, or something like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where. Go to Vegas again. Charge more for that live gate. Try to sell more pay-per-views. I don't know. I think something like the injury, quote unquote, I think that will help, create some controversy, and then you delay it. Fans want to see it, things can happen. What if Terrence gets a little injured, What if he decides to take a tuna fight, A lot of things can happen, but I would try to delay it as much as I can, honestly.
Well, you know what? I said this before. This podcasting doesn't work out. You got a future in being a promoter. That's exactly what I would do. Announce the fight, let it sink into people's psyches. December's too early. You gotta beef up. You gotta, not let Terrence, keep that momentum. 6 months. He's first of all. Let me just say, I think Terrence is one of the most disciplined fighters a year can pass. But 6 months he's still feeling himself to the fullest. Let him get a little distracted on Twitter. He's been going up on Twitter a little more than usual. It's good stuff. I'm here for it. But I will let him go on Twitter and have some of these distractions with the Danny Garcias, with the Keith Thurmans. Stay quiet. Be the Errol Spence that you've always been. Go to your farm, ride your horses. Go eat some carnita asada. You're in Texas. Bulk up. Stay fit. And yeah, like you said, fight sometime in March, fully recuperate, because again, it's too fresh. It wasn't just a points decision. It wasn't just a close fight where it could have gone either way. No, you got severely beat down. So any time to recover, not just physically but mentally, and let that body really sip in. So, hey man, I agree.
100%. And we mentioned Beefy earlier. Beefy did lose to Eubank in the rematch. I didn't catch the fight, but I did see the results there. But just to throw that out there, talking about some results and all that. But Chris, we're about an hour 20 in. Of course, we got Lopez there, Gonzalez this Friday, September 15th, and then Canelo at the end of the month. So we'll be, of course, discussing more Canelo, more Charlo, more Crawford, of course. I'm not getting rid of this bad boy yet. Still relevant in the podcast, that Crawford phase. But, once we get through this, Venado fight is going to be all about this guy right here, Canelo Alvarez, for the rest of the month. But, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I'm predicting a Venado stoppage. You're saying Joet is going the distance. But stacked card there, ESPN top rank. So make sure to catch that. I'm sure we'll be back next week, and then we'll be discussing more of these guys here, of course, Chris. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I wanted to start a little segment, Gio.
Man.
I wanted to start giving away some gifts. And I wanted to ask you.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. Look at that award right there. Who won this bad boy? Look at that. It's free.
I'm gonna let the fans and you decide, Gio. Who deserves this little trinket this week or this month? Can we award it to anybody?
All right. Look, I thought the fight was announced. Frank Martin. I think all of us are thinking the same name. I thought the fight was announced. Shakur Stevenson. We're like, oh, great. He's fighting a good young prospect, contender, whatever you want to call him. Next thing you know, they're saying his team said no. And then they've been going back and forth on Twitter, this and that. It seems like Shakur got a new Edwin de los Santos, I think, a new opponent. But that's what everyone's saying, Chris. I'm not judging, but Chris, did you disappear or you're still there? But I think that's the one guy, right? I think Regis and Haney are now getting it on. It seems like they're saying San Francisco, no ducks for them. Right? They don't get this award, this prestigious award. I think we're all thinking one name, right?
Yeah, we're thinking one name, and it's Frank Martin. And let me just say, not a huge follower of Frank Martin, but
Same.
From what I heard in the Twitter sphere, he's a pretty, respectable fighter. He fights anybody that comes along. It's very unlike him to be getting these little ducks all over social media and Twitter. But that's exactly what happened. I mean, like you said, we thought this fight was made. We're like, okay, that's a good little fight. Obviously, we all know who Shakur is. We know that Frank Martin is one of those very, very talented fighters, coming up. And, I thought, like, this is a good fight. I haven't seen Frank Martin all that much, but this one's going to show me, like, where he's at. And for him to outright, not sign the contract, you can kind of tell what happened. So, yeah, I mean, Frank Martin did not sign the contract. Shakur Stevenson is not wasting his time. He's moving on. So, at least for now, Frank Martin, sorry, buddy, but this is yours until I see a bigger one. You're going to hold on to this little guy. He's cute.
Oh,
He's
man.
cute. Go.
Frank Martin and Tyson Fury says, big bro. I was thinking Tyson Fury too. I know you heard the comments. He's saying he has no interest in fighting these other guys. He said he's fighting celebrities now and YouTubers and MMA fighters.
Man, I like Tyson Fury, man. I like Tyson Fury, but we keep it real on this podcast. This is why I brought two.
Oh, man, look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Where's my applause button? Oh, look at that. That's beautiful right there.
So again, we like Tyson Fury, right? Yeah, we like him.
Let's go, mate.
I think he's one of the better fighters. But hey, if what do they say? If it quacks like a duck, if it looks like a duck,
walks like a duck. Oh man, it must be a Tyson. No, I'm just kidding. No, but man, yeah, we needed two. We needed two of those. I agree 100%. That's great. We got to keep this segment until a new one comes along. Those two men will hold those two.
And let's just keep it real. You can get rid of those ducks. They're not meant for you to hold forever. You gotta let these little guys fly. So you can get rid of them, and
it's like a speeding ticket, It's like you can get rid of it, man. It's on your record for a while, but after a while, you can make us forget that it ever happened.
Man, well, that's all I got, Gio. I want to end it on a light note.
Oh man, but last thing, because Big Bro brought it up. Good thing he brought it up because I was forgetting. Mercito's fighting Camarón this Saturday. That's actually over here at Commerce. I'll see if I can still go to that. Yocasta's supposed to be on that card as well. Golden Boy fight, Golden Boy card, and then Big Bro says PBC at it again. SMH. Only way he gets some sort of benefit of the doubt is if they announce a tank fight soon. It will still be a duck, but will make sense business and boxing wise. And he says Chris finally stepping it up and showing some boldness. There you go, Chris. You're getting props now, Chris. Look at that.
It took an outright duck, I guess, but
Oh,
all right.
Man.
And you got anything else, Gio, before we wrap it up?
I think that's it, man. I think that's all I got. We'll be back next week. We got nothing off the top, so yeah, that's all we got for now, man.
Vámonos, papá. Puro Canelo, puro Venado Lopez. It'll be a good fight this weekend, man. Vámonos.
Yes, sir. We'll be back soon, mates. Let's go. Before we go, I think I mentioned why they call Venado, right?
Oh, yeah, what was it? What do they call him?
Because he used to play soccer, and they call him Venado because El Venado Medina from Chivas. I think he's a Chivas fan. He played for Mexico, so they say he used to play like him, so they call him Venado, and it stuck. So But yeah, best wishes to Venado. Hopefully he puts on a show. Hopefully he gains more fans. And hopefully he gets a stoppage. And that's that, mate. He also had a great podcast with El Terrible if you guys want to watch it, man. Shout out to that podcast. Un round más. Top boxing podcast up there with Against the Ropes and Hot Boxing. So check it out. But yeah, that's it, mates. Make sure to sub to the channel if you're not sub yet. If you're not sub by now, man, you're lagging. Go hit that sub button right now. Appreciate you guys, mates. Thank you. We'll be back soon.
Peace.
Let's go, mate. Shout out to Omaha, man. No hate. All love. Let's go, mate.
Duck season. Vamos.
Sorry, Frank.
Michael, you already know I said I'm a fun guy.
Hola amigos, soy Juan Francisco Gallo Estrada. Quiero mandar un saludo para mis amigos de Contra las Cuerdas. Échenle muchas ganas. Un abrazo, muchas bendiciones.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. You know what mine is? Let's box, bitches. It's almost fight night.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you for the support. Keep doing your thing. You're doing a great job. So thank you and best wishes.
Against the Ropes. Huge shout out to Against the Ropes. Against the Ropes.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you guys for the interview and hope to see you guys soon.
Against the Ropes, always doing the right thing.
Shout out to Against the Ropes, man. I appreciate you guys for having me, taking the time on y'all day.
Against the Ropes, #1.
Freddie Roach.
Thank you very much.